Thank you, Dawn. Yes, so my name's Tom Weller, and I'm the Children and Young People's Project Officer at Active Essex. So while you're here today, you've been selected as a school to be part of the Active Live survey. So what it is, every year Sport England, for the last this is the 6th year now, hosted this survey, and they'll select schools across the whole country, but in localities. So I work for an active partnership of Active Essex. So my role is to work with you guys to try and get as many surveys as we can through schools, to correlate some data, which I'll go into more detail. So what it is, as I said, you've been selected. What the survey is about is for schools, for children to do an online survey, and it measures such things as physical activity levels, their attitudes towards activity, health and well-being. I'll go into more detail as the slides go on, but today I just want to sort of go through the process of the survey itself, what you have to do to complete the survey, what you would get in return, and all the benefits and why this survey takes place. So as I said, the survey is run by Sport England, but broke down to the active partnerships like myself as Active Essex, and they'll provide you with these. So you should have all received a letter and some links and some codes about the survey of how you're going to take part in it. What the plan is and what you have to do is children will do these surveys, and from this data, it'll be put into a report, and the report will be on many elements, as I said, physical activities in your local schools, their health and well-being, their swimming levels, physical literacy, all different stuff like that. And the report is then published every year. So for instance, the last one was in December last year, and it correlated data like this. So when I send out these PDFs, there'll be links to the, sorry, when I send out the presentation, there'll be links to the PDF so you can have a look yourselves. So as I said, managed by Sport England, we work with you guys in order to do it. It's enforced by the following, and the main aim of it is to measure the physical activity levels of children and young people across Essex. So what that will look like, we gain the insight. We see schools in terms of the whole country, not just locally, of their views on sports and physical activity, but also other stuff as well as their health and well-being, their loneliness levels. You know, with COVID coming in, it's been impacted as well. And then you understand the demographics of each area. So we're comparing it for the whole country, not just locally, but nationally. And why they do this is we can see areas of potential stuff to work on. You know, in your current provision, we might want to locally and nationally provide funding on areas that maybe need some work on, might be underrepresented. So from this data, it will sort of put us in line of where we may want to work on different projects in the future and enhance different strategies as well. So just as I mentioned, this data is collected and put into reports every year. So the last one, as I said, was in December. So for the 2021, it's always compared to the previous year. So taking COVID still into consideration, the majority of the report has still been decreased from previous years pre the pandemic. So as you can see, there's been a negative impact on all them following things, as you can see on the slide. And that just not on these things, but their attitudes towards it, their well-being, you know, the loneliness levels, and worthiness of their life satisfaction has decreased massively. And there's a big connection. You know, science has proved that children, not just children, but adults as well, if they're engaged in sports, physical activity, whether that's playing, spectating, or volunteering, there's a higher life satisfaction. They have higher enjoyment as well. And just that last sort of statement at the bottom, that was quite, you know, appealing and sort of frightening, that currently less than a half of young people in Essex reach the recommended level of physical activity. That's not just in the country, that's in Essex. So through getting this data, it shows that we still got some work to do. So us as Active Essex, as a council, we'll work on different programs, we'll get given different strategies, we'll work with different schools and young people to try and change this in the future. So what it is, how does the process happen? So you should have all received a hard copy letter, an actual letter inviting you to the survey. It would have gave a sort of introduction into the survey, who runs it, how it's sort of managed in the information, what we wanted you from that. And it doesn't matter if you haven't. We ask for you to confirm your participation into the survey. So if you haven't, you can still contact me. My details you should have had from inviting you to this talk. However, at the end of this slide, my details are there as well. Following up on that, you should have about a week after received an email going into further detail of the survey itself. So on that would have been the sort of process, the deadlines, but also the main factor and the main thing, the key thing you need, for this survey is the links and the URN code. So the URN code would be, when you click on the links, you have to put this URN code, and that is your school. That is recognised through that. Through putting that in, I will then get the data come through when you've potentially completed the survey. I know it's from that school. So from this for the survey, there's up to 3 classes who are selected per school, and there's a link in that email that I've sent to each school to click on and to complete the survey. So Sport England require at least 30 surveys per year group. Now I know that some schools may not have 30 people in their school, 30 students, sorry. If that is the case, just to give me an email. Sport England will be aware of your school size. It's just they just set this out to all schools as a generalisation. If you let me know, I can let Sport England know, because what we don't want to happen is you do 24 surveys, because that's your capacity of a class, and it's only coming down in the partial report. So if you let me know, I can let Sport England know and ensure that you do a full report. It's only 20 minutes long, the survey. You can do this on your computer, you can do it on laptops, iPads, whatever you want. Students can do it in school, outside of school. We would suggest doing it in school. It's just easy to manage. And of course, when you're there with a teacher, they can ask questions if they need be, but it is quite simple. And I'll go into more detail of the actual questions in further slides. If you're a primary school, you may have been selected as year 1 and 2 classes. With that, parents are invited to take part in the survey as well. So with the sort of year 1 and 2, which I said I'll go into more detail in the next slide, there's just more in-depth questions for the parents to just understand the sort of demographic of their area, their social income, just to compare it to the other localities across the country. And then there's also a teacher one as well. So ideally, we want the PE lead or PE teacher, or whatever PE department it would be, to complete that survey. It just goes into more questions about the physical activity in your schools, the curriculum, the actual school life itself. So we ask that teachers from the PE department complete that one. And the main thing to probably take away from this is the deadline is Friday, the 21st of October. So that's a month today, and it's the Friday before you break up from half term. So Sport England kind of do that. So then you don't have to worry about coming back from half term and thinking, I've got to do a survey. They try and break it into term times. So these are the sample questions as well. I'm not going to go into detail of these ones, but that's sort of what we go into in each survey. If I just break down each survey now. So if you have been selected as a school for years 1 and 2, what the first picture you'll see, or the first image on the page, will be this one on the right with the 2 creatures, emojis, logos, what you want to call them, but apparently it's a monster and an owl. So it kind of fits the needs. Well, it does fit the needs of the student of that age. As I said, years 1 and 2, it's going to be harder for them potentially to do the survey. Not really, because it's a lot shorter. This survey, compared to, say, the year 7 and 11s, is less than a quarter of the size. They can either read or hear the questions. They're all tick boxes. They're all fitting. They're not just questions wrote down. As I said, they've got to choose an image. So it's from the beginning, it's engaging with them. And the last question is, again, they just say how they feel today through images. So it's really not too bad. It's not hard at all. It doesn't take too long. I still would suggest, as a teacher, just be around them just in case they're struggling. But in terms of the actual questions itself, they're really easy to follow, and all tick boxes are really easy to answer. Then we go on to the years 3 and 6. So kind of in terms of the fitting the child's needs. It's increased in terms of their age, so there's still pictures involved to get them engaged, but it's now more grown-up picture. They're in more of a role now of actually putting in the answer to the questions. So that'll be the first image that you see, is the one on the right. And then that's just the one how they want to get started in the survey. So there's more in-depth questions with this one. So you now find out about more of their activity over the last 7 days. That weekly schedule is what you see. They just tick the boxes through that. But then we'll find out more stuff about their traveling to school, their attitudes towards sport, swimming, and there's also the home life. So the home life, so this is where I go back to the sort of the socio-economic and the demographic of the area. Although we are trying to measure through this survey the physical activity levels, health and well-being, they ask questions on, say, does your family have a car? Does it have a computer? If so, how many? How many holidays have you been on? How many bathrooms? There's questions like that, which I know some teachers are surprised by that. But the reason is as you get to understand the socio-economic area, the demographic of your school and the locality. And from when you correlate all the data from all the schools who've participated in the survey, you can then sort of level out and compare to locally and nationally the different areas in the social income. So that's why they ask it. I know you might not think that's anything to do with the sport, but it just helps understand in comparison to other areas across not only the county, but also the country. And then we go to the year 7 to 11 questions. Again, it's more in depth and it's longer. It's a bit more longer than the years 3 to 6. What I would mention that is also on the slide before, the 3 to 6. So it's the same questions, a bit more into depth. But because there are questions of what I said about like earlier about their well-being, of how are they happy today, would they say they felt worthwhile, their lonely levels, anxiety, all stuff like that. At the end of the slide, the survey, there'll be a picture, like a slide of different NHS and charitable services, just so because some child might bring up some memories or might bring up some feelings and emotions that they currently feel. As I said, the loneliness levels and mental health and anxiety has increased dramatically during COVID. So it's still in place, it's still happening. So rather than them, pointing out in front of the whole class when you're doing the survey, their feelings, there's just a little link, there's phone numbers, there's website links for them if they wish to click on and, get some support. So that is just there. Doesn't have to click on it if they want, it's just the option for the child themselves. And then we have the teacher and parents questionnaire. So as I said, the parents ones are for children with years 1 to 2. It's the same as theirs, but it's more about the home life as well, into more depth. And with the teacher one, as I said, we'd rather, or it's more effective, not to us itself, but also yours, because you'll be getting a full report for this, is to get the PE lead to do it, because there are questions specifically about the curriculum, your activities, inside and out, active travel, all the stuff listed there. But the one to sort of take away from this is the school food. So at the end of the survey, there'll be a question on your sort of hygiene, your school offers in terms of food. Through answering this question on the survey, you'll get a Healthy Schools rating. If you don't answer this slide, if you don't answer this part of the section, you won't get a Healthy Schools rating. So it's agreed, once it's all done, in next year from March, you'll be in touch with the Healthy School teams about getting this all done and getting this submitted and provided for your school. And just that picture where it says further breakdowns, that was I was saying about the home life, the sort of the demographics. It just gives a comparison into different localities across the country. So the benefits of the survey, because why would you want to do the survey? It's you've got an organizer class to do it. It could seem hard work. Don't have the time. The reason why you should do it is you'll get a full report of your school, of your inclusion levels, of your physical activity levels. It will be broken down, and you'll be provided this for your school. This could help identifies areas of improvement. It identifies areas where you're doing well, where scoring is maybe lower. It'll give you the ideas, give you some thoughts, and see where you are as a school in compared to the national one itself of where you stand. So that will be sent out in the 17th of March. Now, who it's sent out to is the head teacher, who I sent the letters to, and also the emails to, but also the email address of whoever confirmed their participation into the survey. Now, it's not too late to give an updated email address if you want. If you haven't provided me one yet, or you want a different person, a representative to do that, please feel free to give me an email. There's no problem. I've got until the end of the deadline, which is the 21st of October, to update that. So yeah, as I said, if there's anyone, or even if you don't want it to be the head teacher, just give me an email. I'm more than happy to update. Said what it sort of entails, the report itself, not only is it the physical activity levels, but health and well-being, just how you stand as a school yourself across the country. And as I said, that's how I said in the previous slide of how you gain your school ratings. If you don't answer that school food question at the end, you won't be able to get that school healthy schools rating. And it also, speaking to schools on different meetings and from doing this across the country, they said that it can help with their Ofsted scoring. So through the report, you identify the health and wellbeing reports that you could provide in your Ofsted inspection. There's also a way that you will get rewards as well from actually participating in the survey. So for every school, so if you completed 30 surveys, for instance, as I said, it will be accommodating to how many pupils you have in your school. You'll get a certain amount of credits. So 30 will be 10 credits, and this would be equivalent to, say, a sports day set. 5 credits might be to a bowling set. But I'll be able to send you a brochure out of the incentives that Sport England provide. It's kind of a brochure of the different activities, like games, equipment, different stuff like that you'll be entitled to for completing a survey. Now, if you just come back and just complete some surveys, you have to complete a full report to be entitled to the incentives. So as I said, the full report is 30. If you complete that, you'll be entitled to credits. If you do have parents participating in the survey, you're entitled to more equipment as well. But as I said, they're still updating their brochure at the minute, Sport England, but before the deadline or whenever I get it, I'll email it out to all of you to have a look and see what you're entitled to. But that'll be, once it's all done, that's sort of organised with Sport England itself in terms of you purchasing the actual equipment. So just to give a recap, so as I said, you should have all received a letter now of the actual invitation to the survey, and an email as well with the more information, but more importantly, the codes, the links that you need to access this survey. If you haven't got that, don't worry, please feel free to give me an email at the bottom. I'll send over all the information that you need. We also ask, I said, the teacher to complete the survey as well, ideally PE lead, but it's not the end of the world if it isn't. If you are parents, if your school has been selected for years 1 and 2, parents are encouraged to participate. The more parents who do it, the more credits you'll get for your school. And as I said, we release 30 responses for each class. That would be a full report. If there are less than that, you'll get a partial report. So that would be the data would be affected. So in order to get a full report at the end, we would need to see at least 30. Again, just saying that if you don't have that in your school, just please give me an email. I'll be in contact with Sport England and just update them on your situation.